Just kidding. Hey, welcome to another episode of Unraveling. I'm Jamie.
And I'm July.
And what are we going to be talking about today, July?
Today, we are going to try to talk about being addicted to chaos. So have you ever had the experience of when things are quiet and peaceful in your life, you almost feel on edge, bored, or uneasy? You might feel the desire to stir up some kind of drama or problem. I mean, this is a hard thing to actually discover and admit that you do. I should just say that. Or maybe you might just make up some stuff for yourself to worry about. That's also being addicted to chaos. So today we're going to explore this topic and see where we go with it. And we have a little bit of experience with it, eh, Jamie?
Yeah.
So let's dive in. So, chaos. Being addicted to
I was going to say, should we
chaos.
Start with explaining that a little more in depth, what we mean by that?
What exactly does it mean to be addicted to chaos? What is happening in the nervous system and the brain? So we're just going to go into an explanation about that, and then we'll dive deeper into our own experiences within this and explore that a little further. So when someone's nervous system is addicted to chaos, it often stems from a state of chronic dysregulation or trauma. I mean, and obviously we're all hearing the word dysregulation these days. That's pretty common, and we all know the word trauma and what that means. The brain and the body may have become conditioned to a heightened state of stress or alertness as their normal state. Like it becomes your normal operating system to be in that stress alert state.
Which is why it's so hard to kind of like recognize when you're doing it. 'Cause that's your normal.
That's your normal.
Yeah.
Yes. And so here's what's happening in simple terms. Familiarity with stress. So if someone has experienced prolonged periods of stress or instability in their life, their body adapts to this heightened state as a baseline. And when life becomes calm, it can feel unfamiliar, uncomfortable, and actually can feel unsafe. And then there's stress hormones, which can play in. So their nervous system might seek out stress-inducing situations to maintain levels of adrenaline and cortisol. They match what it's used to. This creates a cycle where it's very unconscious when this is happening, but you're seeking to create chaos so that you can basically go back into that adrenaline and cortisol state. Then there's something called a reward system. Dramatic situations can also activate the brain's reward center, giving a temporary sense of excitement or relief. This can become a pattern where drama is used as a way to self-regulate emotions. Again, we're going back into that, the chemical reaction of the whole thing. Underlying beliefs, people might associate peace with boredom, vulnerability, or a lack of control, which can lead to self-sabotage when things are going well. And this is all based on the root of the problem is that you've experienced prolonged periods of stress or instability in your life. And then, that's the basis.
That's kind of it in a nutshell.
Going on.
Yeah.
In a nutshell. You've got this familiarity with stress hormones, a very false reward system going on in your brain. Your brain has tricked you, and these underlying beliefs, it's that uncomfortability in it because it's unfamiliar to be in a peaceful state.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of us are struggling with these things, whether or not we're addicted to chaos, but I think a lot of people do have some of these struggles out there. So, and I know I've struggled with it.
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No, I'm just here.
Yeah.
I'm just here.
And so today we are going to dive into this further and discuss what this is all about, and honestly how crappy it is to live in this state. It's not fun. It's not fun at all, and the self-sabotage
it's not fun,
is a real,
but
it's real.
You said you don't really notice it until you do, right?
Yes,
because it is, I mean, you can definitely be uncomfortable in the state that you're living in if you're always in like this, state of feeling on edge, or that's a very uncomfortable way to live. And I think a lot of us are pretty aware of that.
Oh, many of us,
for a long period of time.
Yeah, and many of us can identify with that, exactly. That constant edginess, the constant worry, absolutely. Those things are very easy to recognize.
Yeah.
But admitting that you actually like chaos, that you well, maybe you don't like it, but that you have an addiction to chaos where you're actually creating problems for yourself.
That's
tough.
Almost unconsciously, in a way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say very much so.
Yeah. And it's like, and it's not your fault. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you get it, addicted, for lack of a better word, to this heightened sense or state of like anxiety or whatever it is. And that becomes your normal. And so you continue to create it.
Yeah. That's your baseline. That's your
baseline. Yeah. So it's, I just wanted to say, it's like, it's not your fault. It's not like you have to sit there and be like, oh man, I'm causing this shit. Like, this is.
Oh yeah. Dumb. Yeah. You're not doing it intentionally.
It's not something to beat yourself up
No,
over.
you really, truly don't realize that you're doing it. It takes quite a bit sometimes to realize that you're doing it. But in truth, I think more than anything, it takes hearing somebody else talk about it to start to, for me, that's a big one in the healing journey, is hearing someone else's story. And then the light bulbs start going off. Hearing someone else explain something they went through. Doesn't even have to be their full story, but just something they've struggled with. And then it's like, oh my gosh, do I do that?
Yeah. Taking a moment to like reflect.
Oh, that's why people do that? People who come from tumultuous, unsettled childhoods, or who have been through a relationship that was very high stress and intense all the time. They become programmed to this state. Oh, that's like you start to say, oh, that's me. Oh my gosh, do I do that? Oh, I think I do. Right. And when you start to put those pieces together, you're like, holy crap, I can address this now that I can see it. Yeah. Because how can you even address it and heal it and work through it and evolve beyond it when you can't even see that you're doing it? You're doing it completely unconsciously. It's your normal state.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's what you've learned to live in and live with. Like, I'm sitting here, as you were talking, I was like sitting here reflecting like very quickly on my life and like the different phases of chaos situations that I lived in.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh my God, like that makes so much sense as to why I bounced from that situation to that situation to that situation. And why we do that, because that is what we learned to survive in.
Absolutely.
So until we become aware and start breaking those patterns and teaching ourselves to like self-regulate and all of these things, that is basically like learning these techniques and like learning how to self-regulate and all that. It's teaching you to live a different way. It's teaching you how to literally live in a peaceful, calm, different way of living because you literally have to learn how to do it because it doesn't feel safe because you don't know.
Yes.
I feel like that was just a babble.
It's one of the many aspects of living in survival mode.
Yeah.
I mean, truly. You know, however you've gotten into survival mode, whether it has been rooted in early childhood, your teen years, your young adulthood, or even adulthood. I mean, people can get into situations within adulthood and face certain traumas that send them into survival mode.
Oh, for sure.
And once you're there, you really have to climb out of it.
Yeah.
Like, and it takes quite a bit to face all the many aspects of it. So, and this is one of them, that addiction to that energy of chaos. And yeah, I think, you know, you kind of touched on it. Like, it's kind of like you draw it into your life. It's not even like you draw in chaotic situations. It's not even sometimes like you're looking to create chaos.
No. Yeah.
It's just like,
you're not being a shit disturber.
Yeah. It's just coming at you. And then it's your playground.
Well, yeah.
In a way, like for, you know,
you don't see other options. Like, you really don't. It's like, or if you do, you're going to kind of swerve. Absolutely. And be like, well, that's not normal. That's not safe. I don't know how to survive in that. Is really what it comes down to. I don't know how to keep myself safe in that situation. Yeah. Even though that's a safe situation. Oh, absolutely. Right? And I mean, when you're especially early on in your journey of conscious healing, I mean, you're looking at these situations and like, you can't even see your way out because there's so many layers to everything you're going through, stuck in that mode of like, you know, something's wrong, but how are you going to get out of it? How are you going to get out of it? Like, why is all this chaos in your life? Why are things always so difficult? You haven't learned how to put boundaries in place. I mean, you could have people coming into your life that create chaos in your life, but if you haven't learned how to put boundaries there, chaos is just flowing at all times. And you're not going to put boundaries because you feel fine about it. It's what you know. You know chaos, you know drama, and you've learned to survive in that state. That's your normal. Yeah. So, and I mean, this has definitely challenged me in my life. No question. You know, coming from the childhood I had where there was never peace. Never, ever. I've been doing a lot of reflecting lately on, I mean, I'm always reflecting on this, but I've been going much deeper with it lately and like really looking at it again, you know, and I think that's another thing about healing that we often don't discuss is that you're going to have to go back and revisit those things. It certainly depends on the individual, and it depends on how long you were living in a survival state, but you're going to have to go back and revisit because sometimes your brain is just not ready to face the full capacity of what you actually went through in a traumatic situation, right? And so I've been doing all this reflecting lately, and, you know, there was just no peace growing up. Well, you're not going to come out of a situation like that unscathed. Yeah, you're not going to come out of a situation like that and know how to create peace. No. You're going to have to learn how to create peace. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, for me, just living a different life from the one that I was raised in, I thought that was enough. And I think a lot of people do. They kind of just go into, it's being stuck in that survival mode, right? But unfortunately, there's like, more to it than that. Yeah. It's like, obviously that's a great place to start. Sure. Because it brings you out of it enough, right? That if you so choose to then like consciously start healing, you know, it definitely makes it easier. Absolutely. But it unfortunately does not prevent, it doesn't regulate the nervous system. No. And it doesn't start to heal the trauma necessarily. It's a step
in healing the trauma.
Yeah.
But it's not going to naturally just make you
regulate your nervous system.
Yeah, just to regulate you and make you rise above being addicted to all those chemicals that are the I have to look at what it said in our notes, the adrenaline,
right,
and the cortisol that you because it was a constant.
Yeah.
It was a constant in your life. Yeah. You're not aware that that's what was going on. And yeah. So,
no, honestly, like I can think of a few different situations for myself, even just in the last couple of years, living a completely different life, living away from the community I grew up in.
Yeah.
And having these moments where I clued in to like different anxieties that I was still having. And I was like, and that were keeping me in this like on edge kind of state. Right. Yeah. And like having these moments of just like, whoa, what is that? Why am I still feeling that? And then being, oh, that's from childhood. And like, so yeah, it's like, it's pulling yourself out of the situation is a start, but it's not going to automatically fix things.
No, it is not. Yeah. And, I know for myself, I felt so confident in trying to create a different life from the one that I was raised in, that was all that I needed to do for such a long time. And it just it was not not the case. And it's only in the last couple of years after doing a lot of healing that I'm able to start to really see the little bits of things that are still remaining there. And being addicted to chaos definitely was one of them. And and for me, it truly was associated with allowing things that were chaotic into my life, allowing people that brought chaos into my life, and not having boundaries. Now, you said for it said in our notes, I'm going to go back to our notes, guys, because it keeps us on track. Can you share a time when you realized you were unconsciously creating or seeking chaos? And when we went through this, you said yes.
Well, and it's like, I feel like there's so many different ways people can do this in their lives too. For me, it was more so like creating internal chaos. And by chaos, I just mean like keeping myself in this heightened state of anxiety that I was used to. Oh gosh,
yes.
And I remember this actually happened, I think, like it might have been as like recent as like last year sometime, I think it happened. I guess last year wasn't that long ago, but like, middle of last year, I don't know, further back into last year at some point when I realized, because I think I had been doing some kind of like either meditation, like I was doing some kind of routine daily where I was either meditating or like doing breath work or something. And so I was shifting my nervous system, and it was something I think I was doing in the evening before bed, and so I was shifting things, right? And I was noticing that I don't know what I was noticing at first. I'll get to what I noticed, which made me realize that I was doing this to myself. Was this one night I was getting ready to go to bed, and I laid down to go to sleep or whatever, and I started just like thinking of scenarios in my head that were anxiety inducing. Like they were, I just started making up these situations and thinking of these like terrible things that could happen and like all of these things. And it was the first, and like I did that for years. That was basically how I fell asleep. I had to think of like it sounds so fucked up, but it's like I had to think of like terrible things that could happen.
Yeah.
To get myself in this state of anxiety, to actually relax myself enough to go to sleep. It's so bizarre when you say it that way, because you're like, what does that even mean? And so this was like the first time I super noticed myself doing it. And knew exactly what I was doing. Like, it was the first time I understood what I was doing, because I think I had been noticing a more peaceful state, and I was noticing like my nervous system feeling different and that kind of thing. And so I think all of that kind of led me to like this night when I went to sleep, and my brain kind of went back there and started, and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And because I also noticed what it was doing to me physically, because I was like, oh, maybe that's just a habit I've gotten into, to just like have certain thoughts before I go to sleep or whatever. Not a great habit, but that was the first time I noticed the effect it was having on me physically, and bringing me back into this dysregulation, and bringing me back into feeling all this anxiety in my body, and how that felt normal. I'll say in quotations, only this time it didn't feel normal. Yeah. And so that was kind of the moment for me where I was like, whoa, that's what I've been doing all these years, is putting myself into this state, because that is what I got used to living in. And when you go to get ready to go to bed, you start to relax automatically. And so then your body is like, no, we can't do that. Like, that's not a state
worry about something
we're used to being in. That doesn't feel safe. So we need to worry about something before we go to sleep. So that was kind of like, that was like a really big, that was when I really kind of noticed myself doing that and what I was doing.
I definitely used to do the same thing, but not to go to sleep, for sure. Because I was, just insanely sleep deprived for decades, because I couldn't calm myself. I couldn't quiet my mind, because I was in that state.
I should say, I was sorry to
no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was like kind of reflecting on this actually not too long ago, maybe because we talked about it. I don't know. And I was like, whoa, I actually like realized that like I haven't done that in like such a long time. Like, I don't remember the last time I've done that. So just
for me, it's really the same. I
was like, oh, I just go to sleep now?
The chaos in the mind. Yeah. But like, I don't even remember the last time my mind felt chaotic. I don't remember that transition point. I can say I'm very grateful. It's been several years since I felt that way and been struggling like that. But I did have to like acknowledge it. I had to take note of it and face that reality of what my mind was doing. And I had to start to disrupt it in my brain and say, like, catch it basically when it would start running, when you start doing all the worries and so many people talk about it. It's like, I've just got a million tabs open in my brain, or it's like, that's not really the way we're necessarily, like, that's not really a good place to be. This is why meditation is so important, and people do struggle to get there. God knows I struggled to meditate for a long time.
I mean, that could bring us into a whole different conversation too, of like trying to meditate and what, like, and I say that in quotations because I hear a lot of people struggling with what they think meditation should be, and that the first time you try to meditate, your brain should just be empty. And that's like, not, that's just, I mean, that's not really the, well, it's not really the goal of meditation anyway. This is getting off into a whole different topic, but like, it's a
different topic, but it's on topic.
It's a different topic because you could, I mean, meditation is a great place to start for like dealing with this particular issue that we're talking about.
Learning to quiet the mind.
But it's okay if when you sit to meditate, your mind is not quiet. It's learning to like also just be okay and not be attached to that. That's what I.
And that's yes, I think so often we put such high expectations on what meditation is supposed to be, and we give up too soon. Yeah, I see that very commonly. Yeah. Meditation in the beginning is not going to be typically easy for most people. Quieting your mind, especially even if you haven't faced masses of trauma in your life or complications in your upbringing or any of those things, we live in a society where we're constantly inundated with just so much coming at us, too much information all the time.
There's a lot of distraction.
Yeah, our brains are on overload,
100%.
just in general, as a society. You add trauma on top of it, well, now you're in a really precarious state, right?
Well, I was just gonna say, like, even now for myself, it's like I've had like long periods of times where I've had a meditation practice and then I kind of fall off of it and then start again, and I'm squirrel brain. Like,
oh, absolutely,
total squirrel brain. Dumb shit too, where I'm just like, oh, I gotta move that thing in my house.
Oh, absolutely.
Or I gotta do this, or oh, my cat's making a sound and I gotta pay attention to that instead of meditating.
No,
like,
I think too, like, so commonly we don't talk about the ebb and flow within healing. You know, you may enter periods of time where you meditate every day or every week or every few days. You have a routine, you have a pattern to it. And then life circumstances happen. There's a disruption and it throws you off that routine. And then you kind of forget. Maybe it was a newer routine to you. You kind of forget about it. And now you've got to kind of get to a place where you go, well, what? Oh, wait a second. Oh, I haven't been meditating. Maybe I should get back to that again. Right? Like, it's like and it's just this constant ebb and flow going on with, and it's with everything with healing, really, in the healing process. You're not going to just start your conscious healing journey, get in that lane and stay in that lane nonstop without any distractions. I mean, really,
it's not a straight lane.
It's not a straight lane.
It's like one of those adventure games where you choose your adventure.
Truly.
You can, like, I'm thinking of like these video games where like you can go up and talk to anybody, and any one of these people can give you a side quest, and like it's just this massive game. That's what we're in. Yeah.
No, it does feel like that a lot of the time. And this is all the process of getting to know yourself, all the deep reflection you have to do. And that's going to, when you start doing that deep reflection, it's going to take you down so many side roads. And you will get off course of that daily routine and for a little while. But the beauty of it is once you're doing it with intention and you know that you're in that forward motion, you will always get back in that lane.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. You will also always find your way back.
No, absolutely. And I think when you finally start to realize, let me back up. I think you have to fall off your daily routines.
Absolutely.
To learn how important they are.
Yep.
To see how they are helping. Because...
And to formulate the right routine for you.
Exactly. Because, like, if I'm just thinking, I was going to say something else, and then I was like, wait a minute. If I hadn't fallen off my routines, I wouldn't have realized how, and, like, gone back to certain ones over and over again. And, like, there's certain ones that I've fallen off with many times, and I always come and try other things, but then I always come back to these ones. And I'm like, and that's when you really start to notice, like, holy shit, these ones are actually, wow, I noticed the impact instantly. I noticed the change in my energy instantly.
Yes. Yep.
And if you didn't veer off, you didn't, you wouldn't necessarily maybe notice that as profoundly, I think. And maybe you'd just be going through the motions, being like, I gotta do a stupid walk for my stupid mental health. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have that attitude sometimes still where I'm like, fine, I'll go for a walk because I know it's good for me.
Yep.
Like,
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, and there's so many different bits and pieces to this. I mean, part of your healing journey is taking better care of your body. Diet comes into play. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say sometimes I'm not sitting there looking at that cake and thinking, I really want a piece of cake, but I need to eat vegetables right now. Or sugar just does not agree with me. And I know this.
Oh.
And, like, it's...
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But it's like, yeah, I'm right there with you with like, sometimes for me, it's like, you get up in the morning and it's like, I cook on a wood stove in the winter and it's slower and it's more work and, it's not fast. And there's so many times when I'm just kind of like, I just want to eat something quick and easy and like,
where's the chips?
Yeah, not for breakfast.
Well,
Jesus.
no, not for breakfast for sure. But you're
now.
like, where's the chips and dip for dinner?
Right, pretty much.
This is too much work to cook on a wood stove.
But it's kind of the same as like your other practices. It's like, yeah, like when you really start to kind of like notice the difference of how you feel, even if it's like mentally how you feel by nourishing yourself properly, right? It's like taking, because it's very easy to kind of be like, oh, I feel like shit today. I don't want to do all the self-care things. I don't want to, like, it's too much effort. I don't have the energy. But when you put in that, you might not have the energy. That's valid. But when you put in that like extra care for yourself and you know that you're doing that for yourself, it helps. And like, it helps you feel better. Maybe you don't necessarily feel better emotionally, but you feel better a little bit mentally because you're taking care of yourself. And obviously you're going to feel better like energetically because you're nourishing yourself. And
well, and yes. And it's through all these little steps of starting to love yourself, care for yourself, and work in a conscious healing state that then you start to unveil all the things that you need to work on one step at a time. And I don't know about you, but on, the subject of the being addicted to chaos, it wasn't until long into my healing journey that I even was able to identify such a thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, I really, really just kind of identified that for myself last year.
Yeah. Yeah. And even once I identified it, then there was now the process of stopping fully.
Of like breaking those cycles.
Yeah. And like I had already shed some of the things, like for years beforehand, I had already not been, my mind wasn't constantly busy and all that. Like, I'm so thankful for that. Because it really felt like hell to have that going on. I knew that was not the way that you should live. There had to be something better out there. Right. But, like, honestly, the not allowing the chaos in your life with the boundaries was the biggest hurdle for me. Boundaries, without question, was the biggest challenge I had to face, I think. And because I was conditioned to people please. And by pleasing, and that kept the peace. I didn't like conflict. And so now to place boundaries, well, that might upset somebody. That's going to create more conflict. But you have to have boundaries to end the chaos coming through your life, because unfortunately, when you've been living in it for so long, you were magnetizing it towards yourself. And, for me personally, it actually meant breaking off some relationships in my life that were brought in before I had started my conscious healing journey and were not healthy for me. They brought chaos in. So, I mean, that was my experience with like, I think that's when I really clued in, holy shit, like there's something here. Like, why do I actually allow this bullshit to come through? Well, a part of me likes it. A part of me likes the drama. A part of, I mean, I shouldn't say likes, but like, I feel comfortable with this. Yeah. It's what I know. Yeah. I know drama. I know chaos. I know disappointment.
You know how to handle that. You know how to deal with it.
I know how to survive in that. I can do this.
Yeah.
I can be the person that comes along as a codependent and clean up. I can try to clean it up. I mean, as we know, like with codependency, we're not actually cleaning anything up. We just think we are. And we also are feeding off of that. Yeah. Right. So, really things are just getting messier and messier.
It's like those like memes you see on their like the little videos you see online sometimes where like it's like me trying to like solve a problem and they're like mopping the ocean.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the strange thing with codependency is that deep feeling that you can somehow control the situation through this codependent connection. And in reality, you have no control over any like situation. Like the only thing you have control over in your life is you and your reactions to situations, the boundaries that you create, how you carry yourself through. Like these are the things you actually have control over. You can't control any of the outside stuff.
You do have control over your own thoughts.
And you have control over your own thoughts.
I will say that is a real bitch. Like that's a difficult one because it's your thoughts. And I think like I know for my own self, it's like, that's been a struggle of like feeling a little defeated by, trying to disrupt these patterns because it takes a lot of work. You have to disrupt them over and over and over, and you need to catch them. And like, and I'm not saying you have to be perfect or like get it every time, but it's like every time you notice.
Yep.
You disrupt it, you change it, and it takes a lot of work.
And this goes with every subject that you're going to encounter within the healing process, truly.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Scarcity mindset, it's coming through in thoughts.
Yeah.
Better catch it.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a bit. It's like going fishing.
Well, it's going to take a bit, and also like you're still going to have same with the routines. It's like you're still going to have times when you fall off and
absolutely.
And you forget and all those doubts and fears and whatever come screeching on back and you catch them again.
And from time to time, throughout the healing process, I know for myself, I would get so caught up in it, days might go by.
Oh, for sure.
Especially in the earlier days, like days, on occasion, weeks or months might go by where I might fall back in to at least aspects of a certain pattern. And then I'd start to feel like crap. And then what's going on with me? Right. And then going back to the practices of the journaling, taking care of myself, self-reflection, meditation, it always would help pull me back out of it and get back on track. Because again, like it's so easy to fall back into what you know.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
It feels fine there. It feels familiar.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like driving and there's ruts in the road. Those ruts are always going to try to pull you back in. Because that's easy. They're there.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, the interesting part about this journey is while it's familiar and you can say, because I thought about it after I said, it's fine. It's familiar. I mean, it's really not fine. No. It's really not fine at all.
Well, no, if it was fine, we wouldn't be trying to get out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know it's not good and you want out of it. But once you're consciously on that path of healing, that's the beauty, is that you actually can get out of those moments so much easier. You just have to stick with it. You have to really want it.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this the other day about the healing process and just like, you have to really, really want it. You're not going to get anywhere if you're just dabbling in it.
Yeah.
You have to want that change so badly that, and know so deeply that there's more out there and or at least want to believe that there's a better life for you out there and that you don't have to feel this way. Right. I mean, I know those were keys for me. Would you say that was for you too?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, I think when I think back, I remember from like such a young age, just always thinking there's got to be a different way to live.
Same.
There's got to be a different way to live. There's got to be a different way to feel.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I lived in that for a lot of years because I didn't have any idea if there was, or like there was no conversations being had in my life to be like there's something else. But I think that was, honestly, I think that was like a thought that really kept me going. Absolutely. For a lot of years, was just like, there has to be something else. And then, yeah, when I got on more of a, like, on my conscious healing journey, yeah, there definitely was this like determination of like, no, there literally has to. It wasn't like this question or this idea in my mind anymore of like, there's got to be something more. I was like, no, there has to be something more or I'm done.
Same.
Like, and so, yeah, there comes a determination of just like, I don't care what I have to do. I'm going to figure it out.
Yep. That's definitely where I got to.
Yeah.
I got to this point where something has to change. And I knew that something had to change. I didn't know what it was. Same. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know where I was going to find the answers. Yeah. But I knew that something had to change. No. And once I fully accepted that, and I had done enough reflection, and I got fed up enough with my own bullshit, and fed up with living in a constant state of anxiety and addicted to chaos. Really, ultimately, I mean, that was certainly a big part of my anxiety state, was that addiction to chaos. That's when it was like a door just opened up and the right things started coming into my life.
Well, and yeah, no, absolutely. Because I know for myself too, it was like, you know, in that moment where I literally remember saying, like, I always kind of say, like, I made a declaration to the universe of like, I need to change my life. Like, my life needs to change. And then in that moment, it's almost like, yes, things started to align and just open up. But it was also in that moment was the first time I made a decision like that. And then I didn't go backwards. I didn't start doubting it. I didn't start thinking, oh, what if? I put the blinders on, man, and I was like, nope, whatever. I don't know what's next. I don't know what changing my life means. I don't know what that looks like. I am just, the blinders are on. I'm doing it.
Yep.
And then it was like, boom, this thing popped up. Boom, this thing popped up. And so began.
Well, and I also, for the first time, I would say fully opened my mind to possibilities.
Yeah,
like sure. There had definitely been lots of little small steps of opening my mind and little barriers coming down here and there to get me to that point. But it was at this turning point when I you know, it's like, okay, I know that there needs to be a change and I'm open to whatever I have to do to make that change. Yeah. Even if I'm skeptical, and my gosh, I was skeptical of certain things. Oh my goodness. I was so skeptical of energy healing. I remember at the very beginning, curious, but very skeptical. It just, you know, which is so comical looking back on it, because stepping into the world of energy healing, it was like me reclaiming my truth. Something that was ingrained in me, this gift to be able to provide this for other people. That was a game changer for me. But if you had gone back and told me anything about that, you know, certainly 10 years earlier, maybe even 5 years before this sort of shift, I would have been like, what?
Yeah.
What in the world are you talking about? So, but suddenly I was open.
Yeah.
And
I'm just like sitting here laughing. I'm like, I don't think I was skeptical. I think I was more so just like, this weird shit better work. Like, I don't know what this is, but it better fucking do something.
I didn't even go into it with any type of like, you came to see me for a healing. So you actually, you know, did this with intention.
Yeah.
That's not how it came together for me. It kind of happened by circumstance, you know, that, that I ended up getting an energy healing. That's a long story, but it definitely was not planned. It was not pre-planned.
You almost had to get like, you were kind of like, it was sneaky.
The
like
universe was sneaky.
You got tricked into it almost.
In a way. Yes.
Not in a bad way, in a funny way.
No, yeah.
You were a willing participant at the time.
Very much so. But
it was sneaky.
It was.
Yeah.
It certainly was. Sneaky. Yeah, because it was me looking out for other people.
Yeah, go figure.
Right? Because God knows I wasn't going to do anything for myself. Like, I didn't take care of myself.
Yeah.
I didn't have self-care, self-love. What was that? I didn't know what those things even were. And in all truth and honesty, as far along as I've come, I'm still learning what those things are.
Yeah.
And I think I will always be learning what that really means, and finding my way through it, and not just what it fully means, but what it means for me personally and individually. I mean, that's really a whole other aspect, is that as we're healing, like, everybody's journey is so different and so unique to them. And so once you open yourself, it allows you to find your way, you know? So, yeah. But I don't know if we've gotten way off the subject or not, but
we're just veering into healing, and
it's all relevant. It's all relevant to
somehow.
Being addicted to
I feel like I want to say, and I don't know, this is like 40 minutes later maybe, but you know, when I shared about my experience of recognizing when I was doing this chaos thing, going to sleep, I didn't really share what I did to stop it. And I'm like, I feel like that's kind of important. Like, you know, so like, yeah, it's not like it just went away, but it was like in recognizing, like, even that first night when I recognized, and I'm kind of like a lazy person, like, I'm just going to say that. And so I think for a lot, like, I've had to deal with this like laziness of mine where like, I don't want to do practices, or like, man, you know what I mean? So I'm just gonna, put that out there. So, cause like for me, it's like, it might sound so silly, but like that, you know, that evening when I recognized that pattern that I was doing, I was going to bed, I was going to sleep. Right. And so, but I stopped and like pulled up a breathwork practice and did a breathwork practice to like actually then calm my nervous system back down. Like I, you know, cause I recognized I was doing those thoughts and what I was doing. And I was like, oh, no, we're not doing this again. And so I, you know, and I think an older version of me would have just been like, no, we're not doing this. Just go to sleep, young lady. And like, wouldn't have done anything. You know what I mean? But like, because that's why I said the lazy thing, because I'm kind of a brat sometimes, and I'm just like, but I don't want to, like, it's night time. I don't want to sit up
go
and
to sleep,
do a breathwork practice for 4 minutes. Like, come on. Anyway, and like, that's all it takes. Like, you know what I mean? So I just wanted to like
sometimes
say that
you crack me up with how lazy.
I know. Trust me. I don't crack myself up with it. I'm more so just like, nobody told you to do shit growing up, did they? Like, not for real, but like, whatever version of this, whatever self this is, she's just a brat. And she's lazy.
Oh, shoot.
And she likes snacks.
Yeah.
That's her vibe. I get the essence, that I'm getting off topic, but I get the essence. It's my teenage self, and it makes so much sense because she is just a pain in the ass.
Oh my goodness. Well, with the breath work, I will address that. It definitely, for me, breath work is key. You know, living with such severe anxiety for as long as I did in my life, you know, I would say, if I'm being totally honest, the anxiety was debilitating levels and extremes for around 39, 40 years. My first 39, 40 years of life, I was just in this anxiety state. And it still does surface from time to time. It's not bad, but I mean, anxiety is a natural emotion. We are going to get anxious about things sometimes, but sometimes, you know, it will just pop up out of nowhere, very unreasonably. And I'll feel it. I can feel it in my body. Thankfully, not too often anymore does it go into the mind stuff. That's very, very rare. But I can just feel that edginess, that intensity within. And I'm like, what is going on right now? And thankfully, I recognize it immediately. And I always go to breath work. Immediately. Breath work has been the absolute key for self-regulation for me.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
And I mean, like, I still often forget to do it. I think in a lot of ways I'm still learning a lot of my anxieties. Like, it's like, you know, you can tackle certain ones, and then there's new ones, and they're not new. They've always been there, but then you're just like, oh, what? I'm still learning a lot about, you know, my own anxieties and stuff. And I do often forget to go to the breath work in the moment, you know.
Yes.
You know, I will often forget. But when I do remember, like, it is, for me, it's as simple as taking a pause.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, taking a pause, closing your eyes. What I usually do is, like, you know, I take a pause, close my eyes, hand on the heart, take a few breaths.
Within minutes it shifts for me. And I definitely was, you know, where you're at now, I was there a couple years back, definitely, where I would forget to do the breath work right away. It really does come almost immediately. As soon as I identify it, which is usually pretty quick, and then I'm just like, oh, okay, self-regulation right now. And then, there's a little frustration still, because I'm like, where is it even coming from? Like, I don't even know. But it's just the body still regulating after so many years.
Yeah. No, and I think it is, like, it's interesting to kind of, like, you mentioned how, like, for you, it doesn't often get to the point of, like, going to the mind anymore. I still get to the mind quite a bit. And I think for me, that's because I don't know why, but, like, I think I've just lived in there so long that it goes. And I also have this.
Well, you're a little newer at this. So
that too. But oh shit, I had a different thought there, and it went away. Shoot. No, that's okay. Yeah, it's gone.
Okay.
Oh my god. Okay. Anyway. Something to do with that, and it was going to be really, really wise and helpful, guys. But
wow,
it was going to be like the most profound shit that was said in this episode yet.
Wow, what a way to be!
Yeah, we'll save that for another time, I guess.
My gosh,
it wasn't going to be that profound.
Or we'll continue to talk, and then suddenly you'll be
back.
like, "Oh, I just remembered."
Yeah.
Oh
no,
goodness.
Probably not. I think that one's gone.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So, I will say, in the scheme of this being addicted to chaos, when I realized that I actually was, had been struggling with this problem my whole adult life. Like, and I'm sure through much of childhood, like, there were things I was doing, but most of that was in childhood, things are happening to you.
Yeah.
You're not really creating them so much, typically speaking.
Yeah.
Or at least I wasn't. But I had a lot of feelings about it. Like, are you serious? Like, why would you do that? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, I beat myself up a little bit about it.
Which aspect?
About being addicted to chaos.
Oh.
I was just like, well, that's just ridiculous that there's a part of you that kind of, for lack of any better explanation, kind of likes the drama. It's like, you don't like it.
You don't.
But but in the moment, that's what I was kind of like, you like drama?
Yeah. No, I get what you mean. It's kind of like almost that moment of just like, well, that's really dumb that you're doing that to yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, the thing is that, again, it is part of, like, it's an aspect of survival mode. And in the healing process, offering yourself forgiveness and grace and true understanding, that's really such a vital part of this healing journey is, it's okay. It's understandable that you were doing what you were doing. There's explanations for it. You don't have
and I
to
think
feel
that's
like a bad
where,
person.
No, or like beat yourself up or feel stupid, because I think that's where, like, a lot of the reflection comes in really for so many reasons helpful, but it's like, if you can, you know, when you start recognizing these things, if you can, I think it's easy as an adult version of yourself to beat yourself up and be like, I should know better, I should be smarter, I should whatever.
Yeah.
But if you reflect back in those moments and kind of be like, okay, but like, why would I have learned to do this? And you go back to that child, right? And like, okay, what was I experiencing as a kid? What did I learn? When did this start? How long have I been feeling like this? And you start kind of unraveling all of that.
Yep.
That's where then you know, that really helps kind of bring in that compassion piece and being like, well, wait a minute, like, this isn't just something I decided to do because I thought I'd look cool.
Yeah, and I think in that, you know, in addressing this, I'm not sure that people who would listen in on our podcast necessarily would not be on the healing journey themselves, nor would have faced different challenges within their lives that they can relate to certain things, you know, at least some of what we talk about. But I should say that this is an opportunity, through us sharing our stories on this, to think about the people within your life that you might see some of these things going on, or you might see strange behaviors that you don't understand, and just taking that pause and offering them compassion.
Yeah, I think especially if you have, like, you know, people or friends in your life who are like, why are they always putting themselves in that situation?
Yes.
Why are they?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I myself have thought that about people, even though I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And then I've been sitting there and going like, why would they do that? And then, it's a learned behavior from trauma. There's an explanation. Usually there is an explanation to why people are behaving the way they're behaving. Now, it doesn't mean you have to tolerate it, or that you have to have them in your life, or that's all for you to navigate for sure, individually, you know, based on each individual situation. But it is important to have compassion, because so often I know I've watched others be misunderstood, and I've been misunderstood. And, you know, I think we can help.
Well, I think you can also have people in your life that you really care about, but that, like, some of their behavior, you're just like, what the hell are they doing?
What's going on here?
And, you know, I mean, and, you know, certain things can definitely be explanations for that. Or, you know, you can kind of start to pay attention a little bit more, or ask questions. Or, you know, and
talk about your story so that they can talk about theirs.
And then, you know, that might help alleviate some of the frustration within that relationship. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, how do you personally ground yourself when you feel pulled back into old patterns?
I mean,
we said the breath work.
First, I beat myself up about it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Sometimes. No, that's actually not always a lie. How do I ground myself? Like, in more recent times, it's been sticking to my, like, morning routine. I'll say that's like the most kind of baseline of, like, something that I've really been working hard to develop, and it still changes and flows and whatnot. And sometimes it's late morning, sometimes it's more of a brunch, you know, but, like, that has been the thing that I've been doing, you know, in the last months, I'll say, consistently, that always brings me back.
Yeah.
If there's stuff going on throughout the day, or, like, you know, I'm having moments throughout the day, often it's a walk. Like, that's usually my go-to. Like, if the weather's nice, it's like, okay, I'm going to go outside and there's something for me personally about going outside that just clears the chaos.
Yeah. I would say for me, it's a combination of things as well. And I think that, you know, I learned these different things through just self-exploration, and then also being within other communities of people healing, and hearing what they were doing, and then trying things, trying different things, and fresh air, definitely breath work. And, you know, I'm always going to go back, journal. Journaling definitely grounds me,
Mm-hmm.
always, without question. And meditation as well,
Yeah.
you know. And yeah, there's lots of different ways to meditate
Mm-hmm.
that work for different people.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. How does healing help us recognize and reprogram the addiction to chaos? I mean, I think we've already
talked about that
pretty much
throughout
addressed
it,
that throughout. Like the healing process is it's essential to identifying it and then to overcoming
It's
it.
you know, for lack of a better word to use, it's an unraveling process, right?
It really
You're
is.
peeling back all of these different layers and you're revisiting things. And
yeah. So we have a couple of tips here. So how to break free and reclaim your peace. We may have already discussed them, but I'll go ahead and touch on them as we're starting to close.
Mm-hmm.
What did we do to reclaim our peace? Well, we've just discussed it with you for quite some time. And I'm sure we could give you lots more details. Keep tuning in to the podcast. But awareness is the first step.
Yeah.
Recognizing the chaos patterns in your life, you know, and for that matter, any patterns in your life, it leads you into a healing, you know, a conscious healing, in my opinion. That's how you get to conscious healing, is by stepping back and seeing the patterns. And you go,
looking at which ones you don't like.
Yes.
And don't want in your life anymore.
And, you know, for me, a big one was also like, you can't, like, you know, I had a really, I'll just say a challenging childhood. I'm not going to, lack of better words, a challenging childhood. Don't want to get into it in this moment. But it's very common when you have a challenging childhood to blame everything that's going on in your adult life on your parents.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to get to this point where you go, well, now wait a second. I'm an adult. I've been making my own decisions for a very long time.
Yeah.
Why am I struggling so much? For me, I can't honestly say that was like a huge issue that I was blaming my parents for all my adult problems. I just truly could not see my way out of it. But I definitely see a lot of people that do that pattern. It's a very common pattern that I've witnessed in life, that people do not take responsibility for their adult lives.
Yeah. There's almost a like, well, this happened to me, so therefore this is why
this is the excuse for why I'm this way, and I'm just this way, and that's the way it is. And you know, we have to take full responsibility for ourselves, and that's part of the awareness, is taking responsibility for you, for your life, for the life you're living right now. There's no point
really
casting blame or making excuses.
If you want control of something, that is like one of the one things you can have control over, is
absolutely
taking control over your own life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Getting out of victim mentality.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll do a podcast on that. Probably. So recognizing those patterns, and then nervous system regulation. So tools like we've mentioned, breath work, fucking awesome. Like I cannot say enough good things about breath work.
Or dancing with your cat.
And of course. Spending time with animals is also a nervous system regulation.
Yeah.
It legitimately is. Yeah.
Doing it right now.
Yes, you are. She's making the cat dance. Just it'll be great once we're actually videoing. I know, these, right? And mindfulness practices, which, you know, I know that can, mindfulness, what is it? We'll explore it, I'm sure, along the way. And just grounding practices, you know, that taking that pause, sinking in, making peace with stillness. That's very grounding. So replacing the adrenaline rush of chaos with the calm and safety of stability. I think talking yourself through that is a big one. And once you've acknowledged that it's an issue, it does come easier to find those moments to talk yourself through it and be like, it's okay. You're safe. Like literally, it may sound silly, but you literally have to talk to yourself
absolutely.
and say, you're okay.
Yeah.
You're safe right now.
No, and I was going to say that actually, it made me think, I know we're kind of wrapping things up here, but it made me think about the fact that like when you first start like doing these kinds of things, sitting still might actually be anxiety inducing.
Oh, very much
like
so.
When you're sitting still, you're tuning into your body, which you might not have ever done.
You struggled with this.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Like it actually can feel so uncomfortable to just sit in silence and be present with your own body. That in itself.
That's how I felt when I first started trying to meditate.
No, same, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So something to make note of, but it's like, it's okay. Like just sit with the discomfort.
Mm-hmm. Sitting with the discomfort, that's challenging for sure.
Yeah.
Learning to embrace peace without fear. So here, just sit. We're going to actually talk how to sit with feelings of boredom and discomfort. Because when you're used to constant chaos going on around you, and then there's no chaos going around you, it can feel really uncomfortable. And you can literally feel like you're bored. You can associate it with boredom. And, unfortunately, then your brain goes into sort of working against you and says, let's stir some shit up. Let's find something.
Yeah. How can I fuck up my life today?
Yeah. And then, trusting that peace doesn't mean complacency, which I guess that's a valid point to make in this too, is that, just because you're at peace doesn't mean that you're just sitting there and going along with like everybody else in the crowd necessarily.
Yeah.
You're, putting yourself in a vulnerable state of being steamrolled over or something. There's a lot of talking things through to yourself.
Yeah.
And being okay with that and not thinking it's silly or getting past thinking it's silly. We talk to ourselves all the time. Anyway.
I'm pretty sure I'm like, either have a blog post out about talking to yourself or one coming.
Yeah.
Might even be called Talking to Yourself. I don't remember. But you should talk to yourself.
Definitely should. I mean, you do anyway.
Yeah.
So now
you might as well
change the narrative.
Change
you get to change the conversations you're having with yourself.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we have choice over.
Yeah.
So we have control over. Yeah. So in our closing thoughts, chaos may have been your survival mechanism, but it doesn't have to define your future. Learning to embrace peace is like rewiring your internal compass. It's not always easy, but it's worth it. So this week, if anybody listening to this struggles in this area, take one step, big or small, towards calming your nervous system and choosing peace over drama. Your journey to healing is about progress, not perfection. Always remember that, guys. This is a process, and there's going to be lots of bumps in the road, and it's okay. You're going to be okay, and you're going to get through this. If you really want to get through this, you're going to get through this. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Truly, I never, ever in a million years would have thought that I would be where I am now and feel like I do. And I never thought I would have been able to have climbed out of that state that I was in before I started my conscious healing journey.
Yeah.
I thought that's just the way life was. And it was something that I had to learn to power through.
Yeah.
There is another way, and you can do it, and you're not alone in this. So if you enjoyed or resonated with or today's podcast episode, please take a moment to rate, comment, or share it with someone who might find it helpful. That's really key here. if this topic really just didn't speak to you, maybe you know someone that this might help, because hearing other people's stories is really a huge, huge part of the healing process. It was for me.
No, same.
Yeah. Don't forget to follow us on social media, please, at Unraveling This Life. And subscribe to our newsletter for more updates. Pretty cool. You get to know exactly what's coming down the pipeline on the podcast, and it connects you with our personal blogs as well. So that's pretty neat.
And keep listening to the podcast, because that profound thought of mine might come back at some point.
I
will just randomly blurt it out in an episode.
3 weeks later.
Yeah. This is how we hook people in. The curiosity.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
On that note, thank you for listening to Unraveling with July and Jamie. We're grateful to walk this healing journey with you. Until next time, we love you sincerely. And remember, be kind.